You say yes when you want to say no, then blame yourself for feeling resentful later. That willingness to always respond, always soothe, always smooth things over isn't generosity. It's a habit no one taught you to question. You call it kindness, but it's the reason you feel invisible in your own life. People-pleasing is the mask that eats your face. Layer 1 is always hidden at first. It starts as something small, almost innocent. The urge to make things wider and easier for everyone else. You step in, you fill the gap, and you barely notice what's happening until it's already routine. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, the philosopher shone a light on this struggle. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. This is the moment the mask begins to tighten, even as you call it kindness. Imagine yourself at work, the one who always volunteers when a task is left hanging, nodding along even when your head aches with everything unsaid. You answer late-night messages, step in for a sick coworker again, stay quiet when a decision cuts you out. No one tells you that this is what's expected, but after a while, expectation seeps into every glance and email. Your friends start to rely on your yes, the way you rely on the clocks. They assume you'll be there no matter what's asked. Even your family starts to fold your time into theirs, like your needs are made of rubber and always stretch. You try to claim a quiet moment, but guilt sneaks in, heavy and cold. When you finally say no, you see something change in their face, surprise, sometimes annoyance, sometimes incomprehension, like they just lost a grip on something precious. The cost? You begin to disappear behind your own willingness. Each yes chips away a little. The weight builds, stone by stone, until carrying it feels normal. Somewhere in this cycle, exhaustion replaces satisfaction. You lie awake at night, thinking you're failing people, wearing their disappointment like your own skin, but forgetting what you ever wanted in the first place. That's when it starts. The shame of feeling used runs parallel with the fear of not being needed at all. The real pain isn't just burnout. It's waking up to realize you've built a life shaped by the demands and moods of everyone except you. Maybe you believe that if you do enough, offer enough, someone will finally return the favor. But the favors never come. All these little surrenders seem harmless until your sense of self is so thin you can see through it. People don't even notice the pieces you give away. Want to know why this stings? Because of what looks like kindness on the outside can actually be fear on the inside. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear that if you stop giving, you'll be forgotten. Here's a pause for you. Have you ever offered help with a tightness in your chest, waiting for someone to finally see how tired you are? That's not generosity. That's bargaining for a sense of belonging. Here, the complication deepens. The more you surrender, the more invisible you become, but the less willing you feel to let go. You train everyone around you to ignore your boundaries, but you do it so well, they never even know they're crossing a line. Each time you soften your voice to soothe, accept the unfairness, show up when you're empty, you're training yourself too. There's a quiet dread in realizing this. The moment you try to reclaim space, even a little, you're met with confusion or protest. Suddenly, your absence is an offense. Your silence is read as withdrawal, not self-respect. The real twist: you fear the backlash more than you fear the emptiness. It's comfortable to be uncomfortable. You tell yourself things will get better if you just keep going. Give a little more. But deep down, you know there's no finish line in sight. Underneath, there's another layer. Maybe you always thought self-sacrifice was love. Maybe you learn to measure your worth by how useful you are to everyone else. This isn't just about approval. It's about survival, fitting in, keeping the peace, staying needed. But the price is steep. You become a stranger to your own desires. You forget how to be still without feeling nervous, how to say no without rehearsing apologies. The first sign of change isn't anger. It's sadness, an ache that you can't name. This isn't the only way to be. But breaking free will feel like walking into a cold wind, uncertain, but real. Carl Jung believed that losing yourself to please others leads to a split inside that is hard to repair. Here's where it goes deeper. Saying yes gets easier every time, until it turns itself into your whole personality. You don't just put yourself last. Pretty soon, you can't tell what you wanted anyway. Take the friend no one thanks, who always solves the birthday mess, lends the spare charger, and listens till midnight. People joke that she's the glue of the group, smiling as if the role is a gift. But what you don't see, what you never ask, is who listens back. Her phone lights up with every crisis, but when she hesitates to answer, she can feel a chill creep in. No one demands it aloud, but her silence is treated like a broken contract. You can picture a late Saturday night, everyone's laughter echoing, all tangled up in the living room, someone calling for her help with a spill. She gets up, patching the mess while the crowd continues, not even glancing over. If she lingers in the kitchen, listens to the hum of the fridge instead of joining back, someone finally notices. "Are you okay?" But they're not really asking. They're checking if the service has stopped. In The Undiscovered Self, he warned that this emptiness is not a puzzle that can be easily solved. The greatest and most important problems of life are all, in a certain sense, insoluble. You're told that being essential will keep you safe. Actually, it keeps everyone safe but you. Now, what would you do if you weren't allowed to play the fixer anymore? Maybe you'd feel exposed, raw, irrelevant. Maybe your presence only felt necessary as long as you rescued, soothed, arranged yourself softer and smaller so the others could fill the room with themselves. This is why so many nights end restless. You replay moments where you wanted to speak up, but didn't, and you can almost see all the words left unsaid hanging heavily in the air. The cost of all those little compliances is not just exhaustion. It's a slow eroding of confidence. The less you take up space, the easier it is for people to forget you have needs at all. When everyone comes to you in crisis, but disappears when you're the one needing support, it tells you something plain and sharp. Eventually, invisibility is not just something you feel, it's how others learn to see you. But here's the catch. Even if you realize you're shrinking, it's terrifying to change the script. When you hesitate, their faces tell the story. What do you mean you don't want to help? With every pause, you feel panic rising, as if you've broken some unspoken rule. These reactions actually the cycle in place, locking you into their idea of who you should be. Let's cut through the quiet for a second. How much of yourself have you traded away just to hold on to approval? Here it is. Every act of pleasing, done without desire, is a rehearsal for your own absence. That's the cruelest twist, that you chip away at yourself because you think it earns connection, but the reward is isolation. Jung saw this as a deep fracture, not just in how others treat you, but in how you know yourself. When pleasing becomes who you are, solitude feels terrifying, because there's no self left to return to, only the echo of old tasks and empty praise. The drive to give, to serve, to patch things up at your own expense is how you learn to avoid abandonment. But the price is that you abandon yourself first. Silence. For someone trained to fill every gap, sounds like failure long before it becomes freedom. Becoming the reliable one is both a shelter and a cell, and until you choose differently, the door stays locked from the inside. But even if you see the lock, most never ask the next question. What exactly happens when you stop reaching for the key? Here's the last shift. The moment you step back just once, everything feels strange and exposed. You think the world will fall apart without your constant effort. But all that really crumbles is your old role. Let's make this real. Imagine you, the dependable friend, decide not to answer your phone tonight. You see the screen light up with familiar names, people who always expect you to help, listen, reassure. You watch it ring through, heart racing, fingers twitching with guilt. You want to leap in and fix things, to return every message with a solution. But this time, you simply sit there, letting the silence stretch between each call. That silence, it feels like a storm. Not because anyone shouts at you, but because the pressure is all inside. Your mind races. Are they angry? Are they telling each other you've changed? Maybe you're selfish now. You stare at the ceiling, certain you've broken something essential. But with every minute you resist, something unexpected happens. Nothing. The world keeps spinning. People adapt fast. Some drift away or sulk. A few even lash out looking for the old pattern. You feel the ache of losing that predictable script, the tiny hit of approval you got for being always ready. But then, the panic passes. Your chest unclenches. For a moment, you're just there. Quiet. Here's the interruption. Who are you? When no one is pulling on your sleeve. In that hush, the weight of all those old obligations begins to dissolve. It doesn't mean people suddenly understand you. Some resent your distance. Others just move on, looking for a new fixer. But a strange freedom creeps in. You feel it as a relief, but also as a little grief. The truth is, withholding yourself rattles the people most invested in keeping you small. Their discomfort makes you question your choice, but it also shows you who benefits from your endless giving. You start to see the real cost with a new set of eyes. Some relationships cool off or fade, leaving space that feels both empty and alive. You notice how often you used to fill the quiet, how much of yourself was spent preventing someone else's discomfort. The first nights are raw, full of doubt. You replay all the little ways you stayed available just to keep peace. Now, you start unlearning the reflex to explain yourself, to soften every boundary. What's left when you stop compensating? First, sadness. Next, clarity. You begin to notice what actually matters to you, not just what others need. This is where his words, from memories, dreams, reflections, strike deepest. We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. Acceptance doesn't feel heroic, it's awkward, slow, like taking your first steps after an injury. But giving up the hope that pleasing will bring you real connection is how the ache finally starts to heal. In the absence of fixing, you discover new signals within yourself. The desire to help, still there but no longer a compulsion. Space to feel bored, awkward, even restless, without rushing to patch someone else's problem. You meet anxiety head-on, not by running faster, but by staying still. The final layer, freedom doesn't come from having the right people praise you. It comes from risking your own company, from weathering the discomfort of letting things be unfinished. You learn to hold your own silence. You remember, painfully and then with relief, that your value never lived in being the emotional emergency exit for everyone else. That's where you stop being a function and become a person again. The story doesn't end there, but something real, maybe for the first time, begins. When you let go of being available, you finally reclaim your life. In that silence, you discover who you truly are. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and comment unmasked if you're ready to stop pleasing others.